if the reason you cannot fall asleep tonight is not because your mind is broken, but because it has been trying to protect you for far too long. Tonight, you do not need to solve your entire life. You do not need to untangle every memory, answer every question, or carry every unfinished conversation to bed. You have already carried enough. Your body knows it. Your heart knows it. Even your restless thoughts know it, though they keep whispering that one more idea, one more memory, one more attempt to understand everything will finally bring you peace. But perhaps peace has never been waiting at the end of another thought. Perhaps it has been waiting quietly beneath them all along. So before we begin our journey together, allow yourself to become just a little more comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw relax without forcing it. Feel the gentle support beneath your body, holding you without asking anything in return. If your pillow needs a small adjustment, make it now. If your blanket feels a little too warm or a little too cool, settle into the place that feels right for you. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. There is nothing you must accomplish before sleep arrives. You have permission to simply be here. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it leave your body even more slowly. Notice how your chest rises without effort and falls without command. Your breathing has been faithful to you since the day you were born. It has carried you through joyful mornings, difficult afternoons, unexpected losses, quiet victories, and countless ordinary moments that slipped by unnoticed. Tonight it is still here, patiently inviting you home. You do not have to become someone new before you deserve rest. You do not have to earn peace. You do not have to finish thinking before your heart is allowed to become quiet. Many people believe they cannot sleep because they think too much. But overthinking is often not the true problem. It is only the surface of a much deeper river. Beneath every racing thought is usually a feeling asking to be seen, a hope waiting to be acknowledged, a fear trying to keep you safe, a disappointment still searching for meaning. Your mind has been working overtime not because it wants to hurt you, but because it has forgotten that not every question needs an answer before morning. Imagine standing beside a peaceful lake just after sunset. The air is cool, gentle, and still. At first, the surface of the water is covered with tiny ripples. Every breeze creates another wave. If you stare only at the movement, it seems impossible that the water could ever become calm. But the lake does not fight the wind. It does not chase each ripple. It simply remains what it has always been. Little by little, as the breeze grows quieter, the surface settles on its own. Your mind is very much like that lake. Every thought is another small ripple. Every memory is another circle spreading across the water. Tonight, we are not here to force the lake into stillness. We are only here to stop throwing more stones into it. Zen teachers have shared stories like this for hundreds of years, not because they wanted people to memorize ancient lessons, but because they understood something timeless about the human heart. They knew that stories travel where arguments cannot. A gentle story can slip quietly through the busy mind and rest somewhere much deeper, where understanding grows without struggle. That is why tonight we will not rush. We will move as slowly as the moon crossing the night sky. We will allow each story to arrive like a soft breeze through an open window. You do not need to analyze every word. You do not need to remember every lesson. Simply let the stories pass through your awareness, the way clouds drift across an endless sky. If one sentence stays with you, let it stay. If another quietly disappears, let it go. There is nothing to achieve here. There is only rest. Perhaps today was heavier than anyone realized. Maybe you smiled when people expected you to smile, while carrying worries that no one could see. Maybe you answered messages, completed responsibilities, showed kindness to strangers, and still returned home feeling strangely empty. Or perhaps your day was perfectly ordinary, yet your thoughts refused to become ordinary with it. They kept replaying conversations, imagining future possibilities, revisiting old mistakes, searching for certainty where certainty simply does not exist. If that is true, you are not alone. Countless people lie awake each night believing they are the only ones whose minds refuse to become quiet. Yet the experience is deeply human. The mind believes it is helping by preparing for tomorrow, correcting yesterday, or protecting us from disappointment. It rarely realizes that sometimes the greatest protection is simply allowing the present moment to be enough. Tonight, as you listen, I invite you to become less interested in changing your thoughts and more interested in gently noticing them. A thought may appear. Let it come. Another may follow. Let it pass. You do not have to climb aboard every passing train. You do not have to follow every path your imagination offers. You can remain where you are, breathing quietly, watching each thought arrive, and leave like a leaf floating down a slow-moving stream. The leaf does not ask the river where it is going. The river does not ask the leaf why it arrived. Together, they simply continue their journey. There is a quiet wisdom in that image. Nature never rushes itself, and yet every season arrives exactly when it should. The stars do not hurry across the sky. The trees do not force themselves to grow overnight. Dawn never competes with dusk. Everything unfolds according to its own gentle rhythm. Perhaps your heart deserves the same kindness. Perhaps healing has its own pace. Perhaps sleep is not something you chase, but something you welcome when you stop running after it. Over the next 2 hours, we will wander through peaceful Zen stories, timeless reflections, and quiet moments of awareness. Each story will offer a small lantern for the path, not demanding belief, only inviting curiosity. Some stories may remind you of your own life. Others may simply bring a smile that slowly fades into silence. And somewhere along the way, almost without noticing, you may discover that your breathing has become slower, your body has become heavier, and the distance between one thought and the next has quietly grown wider. If your mind wanders, that is perfectly all right. Gently return to the sound of this voice whenever you are ready. There is no failure here. There is no wrong way to rest. Even if sleep does not arrive immediately, every calm breath is already a gift to your nervous system. Every moment of gentle awareness is already an act of kindness toward yourself. So, let tonight become different from all the nights when you fought against your own mind. Let tonight be the evening you stop trying to win an argument with your thoughts and simply allow them to grow tired on their own. Somewhere ahead, the first Zen story is waiting for us, and within its quiet simplicity, you may discover that the peace you have been searching for has never been as far away as it seemed. As you continue to rest here, there is nothing you need to force and nowhere you need to hurry. Simply notice the quiet weight of your body becoming a little heavier with every gentle breath. The bed beneath you has carried your tiredness without complaint, just as the earth has carried every step you have taken throughout your life. Tonight, perhaps for the first time in a long while, you can allow yourself to be supported instead of carrying everything alone. Feel the muscles around your forehead soften ever so slightly. Let the space around your eyes become gentle. Allow your tongue to rest naturally, and notice how even the smallest release can create room for a deeper sense of ease. You may still hear thoughts moving through your mind, and that is perfectly all right. We are not trying to silence them. We are only changing the way we greet them. Imagine that each thought is like a traveler walking along a quiet forest path beneath a sky filled with stars. Some travelers move quickly. Others linger for a while before continuing on their way. None of them ask you to leave your peaceful place beside the path. You can simply watch them pass. The forest does not become disturbed because someone walks through it. The night sky does not lose its beauty because a cloud drifts across the moon. Your awareness can remain just as spacious. There is an old Zen story about a young traveler who arrived at a mountain monastery after walking for many days. He expected the monks to possess secret techniques that could instantly quiet every restless thought. When he finally met the elderly teacher, he asked, "Master, how do I stop my mind from wandering?" The old teacher smiled, poured warm tea into a simple clay cup, and carried it outside. Together, they sat beside a small stream where the water flowed steadily over smooth stones. The teacher pointed toward the stream without saying a word. At first, the young traveler saw only moving water. Then, he noticed leaves floating gently on the surface. Some leaves caught briefly against a stone, before the current slowly carried them onward. Others passed without interruption. The teacher finally spoke in a calm voice. The stream never argues with the leaves. It does not ask where they came from or where they are going. It simply continues to flow. The young traveler watched quietly. After several minutes, another leaf drifted by. This one spun in a small circle before finding its way back into the current. The teacher smiled again. "Many people believe they are the leaves," he said softly. "They spend their lives trying to control every movement, every turn, every unexpected pause. But your true nature is much closer to the stream itself." Those simple words settled into the traveler's heart more deeply than any complicated explanation could have. He realized that every time he fought a thought, he had become trapped inside it. Every time he judged himself for feeling worried, he had added another layer of tension. Yet the stream had shown him another possibility. It continued flowing, whether the leaves moved quickly or slowly. It remained itself regardless of what appeared upon its surface. Perhaps your own mind can be understood in the same gentle way. Thoughts may arrive about tomorrow's responsibilities, yesterday's conversations, or questions that still seem unanswered. They may circle for a moment before drifting away. There is no need to become frustrated by their presence. Instead, see if you can notice the quiet awareness that has been observing them all along. That awareness does not become smaller because a thought appears. It does not become damaged because an emotion visits. It simply notices, patiently and without judgment. As you breathe in, imagine fresh evening air moving through a peaceful valley just before dawn. As you breathe out, imagine every unnecessary effort melting away like morning mist beneath the first gentle rays of sunlight. There is no race taking place here. There is no test you must pass before rest is allowed to find you. Your heart has worked faithfully all day. Your mind has done everything it believed was necessary to keep you safe. Now both deserve kindness instead of criticism. If another thought appears, quietly thank it for trying to help, then allow it to continue on its journey. You do not need to follow. You can remain here, breathing slowly, feeling the steady rhythm of your body, listening as the quiet wisdom of these moments gently settles around you. Somewhere beyond the trees, a soft breeze moves through the branches without asking permission. Somewhere above the clouds, the stars continue shining whether they are seen or hidden. In the same way, your inner peace has never disappeared. It may have been covered by noise, by worry, or by constant activity, but it has remained present beneath it all. Tonight is not about creating peace from nothing. It is about remembering what has quietly been waiting within you all along. Allow that thought to rest gently in your heart as your breathing becomes slower, your body becomes warmer, and your attention settles naturally into the calm rhythm of this peaceful night. The old teacher remained beside the stream, saying nothing for a long while, because some lessons become clear only after silence has had enough time to speak. The young traveler listened to the gentle movement of the water and noticed something he had completely missed when he first arrived. Although the stream never stopped flowing, no two moments looked exactly the same. Every reflection changed as the moon slowly climbed higher into the evening sky. Every ripple appeared, softened, and disappeared without asking permission. The traveler suddenly understood that he had spent much of his life demanding permanence from a world that had quietly been changing every second. He wanted pleasant moments to remain forever. He wanted painful moments to leave immediately. He wanted certainty where life naturally offered movement. As these thoughts settled inside him, the teacher picked up a small, smooth stone from the edge of the water and placed it gently in the traveler's hand. "Hold this as tightly as you can," the teacher said, with a warm smile. The traveler closed his fingers until every muscle in his hand became tense. After only a short time, his hand began to ache. His wrist stiffened. His arm grew tired. "Now open your hand," the teacher whispered. The traveler relaxed his fingers, and the stone rested quietly in his open palm. The stone had not changed. Only the way he held it had changed. The teacher nodded toward the open hand. "Many people believe their suffering comes from the stone," he said softly. "Often it comes from the tightness of the grip." Those simple words echoed gently through the cool evening air. Perhaps there is something in your own life that resembles that smooth stone. It may be a conversation that did not end the way you hoped. It may be a mistake you continue replaying long after everyone else has forgotten it. It may be uncertainty about tomorrow, or a quiet fear that things will never become easier. Whatever it is, notice that you do not need to throw it away tonight. You do not need to pretend it never happened. The invitation is much gentler than that. Simply notice whether you have been holding it with unnecessary tension. As you breathe slowly, imagine your own hands resting comfortably, no longer gripping invisible burdens. Feel the muscles in your shoulders becoming softer. Let your breathing settle into an easy rhythm that asks nothing from you except your attention. There is remarkable wisdom in allowing the body to teach the mind. When the body discovers ease, the mind often follows more willingly than when it is forced. Outside, the night continues exactly as it always has. Somewhere an owl calls into the darkness. Somewhere leaves move gently in the breeze. Somewhere a quiet porch light shines while another family prepares for sleep. The world does not pause because one person is worried. And strangely, there is comfort in realizing that. Life continues carrying every living thing with quiet patience. You are included in that gentle rhythm, whether you notice it or not. The traveler watched the stream for several more minutes before asking another question. Will my mind ever become completely quiet? The teacher smiled again, not because the question was foolish, but because nearly everyone eventually asks it. Some nights it will be quiet, he replied. Other nights it will still be busy. Peace is not measured by how many thoughts appear. Peace is measured by how gently you welcome yourself when they do. The traveler expected a complicated answer. Instead, he received permission to stop fighting. That permission changed something inside him more deeply than he realized. Perhaps you also deserve that same permission tonight. You do not have to judge yourself because your thoughts continue to wander. You do not have to become frustrated because your attention drifts for a moment before returning. Every gentle return is already a quiet practice. Every calm breath is already a step toward greater ease. Imagine your thoughts becoming like distant birds crossing the evening sky. You notice them for a moment, appreciate their movement, and then allow them to continue beyond the horizon. You do not ask the birds to stay forever, and you do not demand that they never appear again. You simply witness their passing. In much the same way, your awareness can become a wide and welcoming sky rather than a crowded room. There is more space within you than your busiest day has ever allowed you to see. Rest there for a while. Allow the steady rhythm of your breathing to become your quiet companion. Feel the comforting stillness beneath every sound, the gentle silence beneath every thought, and the quiet strength that has remained with you through every season of your life. Patiently waiting for the moment when you finally remembered that it was always there. The traveler remained beside the stream long after the conversation had grown quiet, discovering that silence itself could become a gentle teacher. The moon had climbed higher now, casting a silver reflection across the moving water, and every ripple carried that light in a slightly different way. It was impossible for the reflection to remain perfectly still, yet its beauty did not depend upon perfect stillness. As he watched, the teacher reached toward a nearby pine tree and lifted a single fallen needle from the ground. Holding it between his fingers, he asked, "Do you believe this pine needle fell at the wrong time?" The traveler smiled softly and shook his head. "No," he answered. "It simply became ready." The teacher nodded. "Then why do you believe your own life must always unfold according to the schedule imagined by your thoughts?" The question lingered in the cool night air. The traveler searched for an answer, but none arrived. Instead, he noticed how often he had measured his happiness against invisible expectations. He had expected difficult seasons to end quickly. He had expected certainty before taking a step forward. He had expected every chapter of life to make immediate sense, yet the forest surrounding them offered another lesson. Every tree had grown at its own pace. Some stood tall and ancient. Others were young and slender. None appeared to compete with the others. Each accepted the place where it had taken root, drawing quietly from the same earth beneath them all. As you continue resting here tonight, perhaps you can borrow this gentle image from the forest. Imagine yourself sitting beneath those peaceful trees, feeling the cool evening breeze move softly through the branches overhead. You do not need to become anyone else in this moment. You do not need to rush toward tomorrow or return to yesterday. You are simply here, breathing steadily, supported by the quiet rhythm of the earth itself. Notice the gentle rise of your chest as you breathe in, and the effortless release as you breathe out. Every breath reminds you that life continues without needing your constant supervision. Your heart does not ask permission before beating. The stars do not wait for approval before shining. In the same way, healing often unfolds through patient presence rather than endless effort. The teacher eventually stood and began walking slowly along the narrow path beside the stream. The traveler followed without speaking. After several peaceful minutes, they arrived at a small wooden bridge crossing the water. The teacher rested his hands lightly on the railing and looked into the flowing current below. "Tell me what you see," he said. The traveler answered, "I see water moving around rocks." The teacher smiled gently. "Look again." The traveler watched more carefully. He noticed that the water did not struggle against every stone. Sometimes it curved gracefully around an obstacle. Sometimes it flowed directly over smooth surfaces. Sometimes it slowed before gathering strength and continuing onward. It never argued with the shape of the river. It simply responded with quiet flexibility. The teacher nodded with quiet satisfaction. "Many people believe strength means never bending," he said. "But nature shows us another kind of strength. Water reaches the sea not because it is rigid, but because it knows how to continue." Those words settled deeply into the traveler's heart. He realized that much of his exhaustion had come from resisting experiences that had already arrived. He had replayed conversations that could not be changed. He had worried about futures that had not yet appeared. He had carried invisible burdens long after they had stopped serving any purpose. Yet the stream beneath the bridge offered another possibility. It continued moving without carrying yesterday's water into tomorrow. Every moment was completely new. As you listen now, imagine placing your own attention beside that gentle stream. There may still be thoughts drifting through your awareness. Let them drift. There may still be questions without immediate answers. Allow them to rest for the night. Nothing important will be lost by meeting tomorrow with a calmer heart. In fact, clarity often arrives after the mind has been given permission to become quiet. Feel your breathing growing slower. Notice the gentle comfort of the space around you. Allow your shoulders to settle a little more deeply. If your thoughts wander, Greet them with kindness before returning to the steady rhythm of your breath. There is no need for perfection here. There is only the simple practice of beginning again, one peaceful breath at a time. Somewhere beyond the trees, the first hint of morning still waits far below the horizon, but there is no reason to hurry toward it. This night has its own quiet gifts, and one of them is the opportunity to discover that peace is not found by controlling every thought. Peace begins the moment you realize you can watch those thoughts with patience, compassion, and the quiet confidence that, like the flowing stream beneath the bridge, they will continue on their way. The path beyond the little bridge curved gently toward a quiet hillside where the forest opened into a small clearing. The traveler and the old teacher walked without urgency, listening to the soft chorus of crickets and the distant sound of water still making its steady journey through the valley below. The night seemed to breathe with them, neither asking them to hurry nor asking them to understand everything at once. After a few moments, they reached a weathered wooden bench that overlooked the moonlit landscape. The teacher invited the traveler to sit, and together they watched the gentle light resting upon the tops of the trees. Nothing remarkable appeared to happen, yet the traveler sensed that something inside him had already begun to change. His thoughts still came and went, but they no longer felt like commands that demanded immediate attention. They were becoming visitors instead of rulers. The teacher reached into the pocket of his simple robe and removed a small, empty teacup. Holding it beneath the moonlight, he asked, "What gives this cup its purpose?" The traveler examined it carefully before answering. "It holds tea." The teacher smiled warmly and shook his head. "Look again." The traveler looked more closely. The smooth clay walls were beautiful, but they were not what allowed the cup to serve its purpose. At last, he understood. "It is the empty space inside," he said quietly. The teacher nodded with gentle approval. "Exactly. The usefulness of the cup comes from what it does not contain." Those words settled into the silence between them. The traveler reflected on how much of his life had been spent filling every empty moment. Whenever quiet appeared, he reached for another distraction, another task, another worry, another plan. He had believed that a full mind was a productive mind. Yet, perhaps true clarity required a little space. Perhaps wisdom entered through the same quiet opening that gave the cup its purpose. As you continue resting here tonight, consider your own mind with kindness. You may have spent years believing that every moment must be occupied by thinking, planning, remembering, or preparing. Yet, there is a quiet strength in allowing a little room between one thought and the next. That space is not emptiness in the lonely sense. It is openness. It is possibility. It is the gentle pause where peace has an opportunity to be noticed. Take another slow breath and imagine that each exhale creates just a little more room inside your awareness. There is nothing you need to push away, nothing you need to force into silence. Simply allow a little more spaciousness to appear naturally. The moon continues shining, whether the lake below reflects it perfectly or not. In the same way, your inner calm does not disappear simply because your thoughts become active. It remains quietly present beneath every passing wave of the mind. The teacher placed the empty cup beside them on the bench and pointed toward the wide sky above. Thousands of stars stretched across the darkness, each one shining without competing against the others. Notice how the sky welcomes every star, he said. It does not ask one to become another. It gives each one enough room to shine. The traveler looked upward for a long while. He realized he had rarely offered himself that same kindness. He judged one emotion against another. He criticized himself for feeling uncertain. He wished away moments of sadness and clung tightly to moments of happiness. Yet, the night sky seemed to hold everything without resistance. It created space instead of conflict. Perhaps that was another quiet lesson hidden in plain sight. You can welcome your experience without becoming trapped inside it. You can notice uncertainty without believing it defines you. You can recognize a memory without carrying it into every new tomorrow. Like the stars above, each experience appears for its own time before quietly giving way to another. Feel your breathing settling into a comfortable rhythm. Allow your shoulders to soften a little more. Notice how the gentle weight of your body is supported completely in this moment. There is nothing missing from this breath. There is nothing incomplete about this quiet night. You do not need to become wiser before you deserve rest. You do not need to solve every mystery before your heart is allowed to become peaceful. Sometimes, the greatest kindness you can offer yourself is simply to stop filling every quiet space with another thought. Let the silence become a companion rather than something to escape. Let the steady rhythm of your breathing remind you that life has been carrying you all along. As the traveler remained beside the teacher beneath the endless sky, he discovered that the night itself had become a lesson. Without speaking loudly or demanding attention, it revealed that peace is rarely found by adding more to the mind. More often, it is discovered by gently making room for what has been quietly waiting there from the beginning. The traveler and the old teacher remained beneath the open sky until the moon had climbed almost to its highest place. The air had become cooler now, carrying the gentle fragrance of pine and fresh earth after a quiet evening. Neither of them seemed eager to speak. The silence no longer felt empty. Instead, it felt like an old friend whose presence required no explanation. After a while, the teacher slowly rose from the wooden bench and began walking toward a narrow garden hidden behind the monastery. Small stone lanterns lanterns lined the winding path, their warm light barely brighter than the glow of the stars above. The traveler followed at an unhurried pace, noticing that even his footsteps had become softer than when he first arrived. It was as though the entire mountain invited every visitor to move with a little less urgency. At the center of the garden stood an ancient maple tree, whose wide branches stretched peacefully across the night sky. Although it was not autumn, a single leaf loosened itself from one of the branches and drifted gently through the still air before coming to rest upon the ground. The teacher watched it without speaking. Finally, he asked, "Did the leaf fall because it failed to hold on, or because its time had simply come?" The traveler looked at the leaf for several moments before answering. It was simply ready. The teacher smiled kindly. Then, perhaps not every ending is a mistake. Some endings are simply another way that life continues. The traveler lowered his eyes as those words settled quietly within him. He remembered moments from his own life that he had carried like unfinished questions, opportunities that disappeared before he understood them, friendships that slowly changed with time, dreams that had taken unexpected paths. For many years, he had believed that every ending represented something lost forever. Yet, the simple leaf resting peacefully beneath the tree suggested another possibility. The tree had not become smaller because one leaf had fallen. Its roots remained strong. Its branches still reached toward the sky. Life continued flowing through it, even as one small chapter came to close. Perhaps the same quiet truth existed within every human heart. As you continue listening tonight, imagine yourself standing in that peaceful garden. Feel the cool evening air resting gently upon your skin. Hear the faint rustle of leaves moving almost silently overhead. There is no need to search for meaning in every memory that visits your mind. Some memories come simply to remind you how far you have already traveled. Others arrive only to pass gently through your awareness before continuing on their way. Like the leaf beneath the maple tree, they do not always require your effort. Sometimes they simply ask for your willingness to let them complete their journey. Take another slow breath and notice how easily the air enters your lungs. Notice how naturally it leaves again without needing to be held. Your breath understands something that the thinking mind often forgets. Every inhale is followed by an exhale. Every moment of activity is balanced by a moment of rest. Every season quietly gives way to another without argument. The teacher knelt beside the fallen leaf and carefully placed it upon the surface of a small pond nearby. The leaf floated without resistance, carried gently by tiny circles spreading across the still water. "Watch closely," he whispered. The traveler observed that the leaf did not choose its exact path. It turned slowly, drifted around reflections of the moon, and continued wherever the quiet movement of the water carried it. Yet nothing about its journey appeared frightening. There was a quiet grace in allowing the current to do what currents have always done. The teacher looked toward the traveler with gentle eyes. Many people spend their lives believing that peace comes after they control every direction, he said softly. Often peace begins when they discover they do not need to control every current. Those words remained with the traveler long after they were spoken. He realized that his greatest weariness had not come from life itself, but from the constant effort of trying to predict every outcome before it arrived. He had mistaken endless preparation for genuine safety. Yet, standing beside the peaceful pond, he sensed another kind of security, one that came not from certainty, but from trust. Trust that each breath could be enough for this moment. Trust that tomorrow would reveal itself when tomorrow arrived. Trust that wisdom could grow quietly, just as trees grow without announcing each new ring hidden beneath their bark. Allow yourself to rest with that same quiet trust now. There is nothing you must solve before closing your eyes. There is nothing you must become before deserving gentle rest. Let your breathing remain slow and natural. Feel your body becoming comfortably heavy, supported by the place where you are resting. If another thought appears, greet it with patience, then allow it to float onward like the leaf crossing the moonlit pond. There is no need to hurry after it. There is no need to hold it still. Simply remain here, quietly present, discovering that beneath every passing thought there is a deeper stillness that has never left you, waiting with endless patience to welcome you home. The traveler remained beside the quiet pond for a little while longer, watching the last gentle circles on the water slowly disappear into perfect stillness. It seemed impossible to tell where one ripple had ended and another had begun. They simply faded into the larger calm without struggle, without announcement, without regret. The old teacher smiled softly, as though he had witnessed this simple lesson 1,000 times and still found beauty in it every single evening. Together, they continued along the narrow garden path until they reached a small stone gate that opened onto a wide meadow stretching across the mountainside. Dew rested lightly upon the grass, catching the moonlight in countless tiny reflections that shimmered like scattered stars. The traveler stopped for a moment, overwhelmed not by excitement, but by a quiet sense of wonder. There was nothing extraordinary about the meadow itself. It was simply a peaceful place that had been patiently waiting, asking for nothing except to be noticed. Teacher looked across the open field and asked, "What do you hear?" The traveler listened carefully. At first he answered, "I hear almost nothing." The teacher nodded. "Listen again." This time, the traveler became aware of sounds that had always been present, but had escaped his attention. A gentle breeze moved through the tall grass. Insects created a soft rhythm that blended naturally with the night. Somewhere in the distance, An owl called only once before the silence welcomed everything back into balance. Even the movement of his own breathing became part of the quiet music surrounding them. The teacher said, "Peace is often not the absence of sound. It is the absence of resistance." Those words settled gently inside the traveler. He realized that he had spent much of his life waiting for perfect conditions before allowing himself to feel peaceful. He believed peace would arrive after every problem had been solved, every uncertainty had disappeared, and every unanswered question had found its conclusion. Yet this peaceful meadow contained many sounds, many movements, many changing moments, and still it felt deeply calm. Perhaps peace had never depended upon perfection. Perhaps it had always depended upon the willingness to stop arguing with the present moment. As you continue resting tonight, imagine yourself standing in that open meadow beneath the wide night sky. Feel the cool air resting gently against your face. Imagine the soft grass beneath your feet and the endless horizon stretching peacefully before you. There is no destination waiting for you here. There is no finish line hidden somewhere beyond the hills. There is only this breath arriving quietly and the next breath following it with the same quiet kindness. Allow yourself to notice how each breath asks for so little. It does not demand that you become wiser. It does not insist that you solve tomorrow before morning arrives. It simply enters, nourishes you, and gently leaves again. The teacher bent down and touched the dew resting upon a single blade of grass. Tiny droplets reflected the moon so clearly that each one seemed to contain an entire world within it. Even something very small can reflect great beauty, he said. The traveler looked closely and smiled. He thought about all the quiet moments he had overlooked throughout his life because he had been searching for something larger. He had waited for dramatic changes while missing countless ordinary moments filled with quiet grace. The warmth of morning, sunlight through a window, the comforting smell of fresh rain, the peaceful feeling of sharing silence with someone who needed no explanation. These simple gifts had always surrounded him, yet his restless mind had hurried past them again and again. Perhaps the heart becomes tired, not because life lacks beauty, but because attention is so often pulled away from it. Tonight, you do not have to search for a remarkable experience. You do not need a perfect meditation or a perfect evening. Simply allow yourself to notice the ordinary comfort already surrounding you, the steady support beneath your body, the gentle rhythm of your breathing, the quiet safety of this moment. These simple things have extraordinary power when they are truly received. The teacher slowly began walking across the meadow, leaving only the faintest footprints in the dew. The traveler followed with equal care, noticing how naturally his pace had changed since arriving at the monastery. Earlier, he had walked as though every step were leading toward another obligation. Now, each step felt complete by itself. There was nowhere else he needed to be. No invisible clock urging him forward. No expectation that the next moment would finally make everything better. The present moment had quietly become enough. As you continue listening, imagine your own thoughts slowing to match that gentle pace. They do not need to disappear. They simply no longer need to rush ahead of your life. Let them walk beside you rather than pulling you forward. Let your breathing become the steady rhythm that guides every quiet step through this peaceful night. Somewhere beyond the meadow, the first hint of dawn still waits beyond the horizon, but there is no reason to hurry toward it. The stars continue shining with patient confidence, never worrying whether morning will arrive. In the same way, your own heart already knows how to rest when it is finally given permission to stop carrying what belongs to another day. Remain here for a little while longer, surrounded by the gentle silence of the mountains, the quiet wisdom of the open sky, and the simple understanding that sometimes the greatest peace is found not by adding anything new to your life, but by fully receiving the quiet goodness that has always been here. The meadow gradually gave way to an ancient stone path that climbed gently toward the highest ridge of the mountain, where the air felt even quieter, as though the world itself had slowed its breathing. The traveler walked beside the old teacher without counting the passing moments. And for the first time in many years, time itself no longer seemed important. The moon rested high above them, bathing every stone, every tree, and every distant hillside in a silver glow, so soft that even the shadows appeared peaceful. The teacher eventually stopped beside a solitary cedar tree, whose broad branches reached gracefully toward the night sky. At its base rested a weathered wooden wind chime that moved only when the gentlest breeze found its way through the mountain pass. They stood together in silence until a faint current of cool air arrived, causing the small chimes to ring with a delicate, almost invisible melody. The sound lasted only a few seconds before dissolving completely into stillness. The teacher smiled and quietly asked, "Where did the music go?" The traveler listened carefully, hoping another breeze might answer for him. Finally, he said, "It disappeared." The teacher shook his head with quiet kindness. The sound did not disappear. It completed its moment. Those simple words settled gently into the traveler's heart. He realized that so many of his worries came from believing that every pleasant experience should remain forever, and every difficult experience should vanish immediately. Yet, the little wind chime had offered another lesson. Its music had never belonged to the metal alone. It had been born from the meeting of wind, wood, silence, and time. When the breeze moved on, the melody simply returned to stillness without sadness. perhaps thoughts were not so different. They arrived because conditions invited them, and they left when those conditions quietly changed. As you continue resting tonight, imagine yourself standing beneath that great cedar tree. Feel the cool mountain air surrounding you with gentle comfort. Listen for the faintest sounds around you, perhaps the quiet rhythm of your own breathing, perhaps the peaceful stillness between each breath. Notice how silence is never truly empty. It gently holds every sound without trying to keep it. In the same way, your awareness can gently hold every thought without becoming trapped inside it. If a memory appears, let it ring like the wind chime before allowing it to fade naturally. If a plan for tomorrow quietly enters your mind, greet it with appreciation and allow it to rest until morning. Nothing important is lost by allowing the night to remain the night. The teacher reached down and brushed his hand lightly across the bark of the cedar. This tree has witnessed thousands of evenings, he said softly. Storms have come and gone. Snow has covered its branches. Warm summers have returned again and again. Yet, it does not spend the spring fearing winter, nor does it spend autumn grieving the passing leaves. It simply lives the season that is here. The traveler looked upward through the wide branches, noticing how each one stretched naturally toward the open sky without competing with the others. The tree did not hurry its own growth. It did not question whether it had become tall enough. It simply continued reaching quietly toward the light each day that was given to it. The traveler wondered how different his own life might have felt if he had trusted time with the same quiet confidence. Perhaps you have also spent evenings measuring yourself against invisible expectations, wondering whether you should already be somewhere else, someone else, or somehow further along than you are. Tonight, allow those comparisons to become as light as passing clouds. The stars above the mountain are not brighter because they compare themselves to one another. Each shines according to its own place in the endless sky. Your journey unfolds in much the same way. There is no hidden race taking place beneath the stars. There is only this moment, this breath, this quiet opportunity to rest exactly where you are. Feel your shoulders becoming a little softer now. Let your forehead relax completely. Notice the gentle rhythm of your breathing becoming slower without effort. Imagine every exhale carrying away only what no longer needs to remain awake tonight. You do not have to push anything away. Simply allow each breath to create a little more space inside your heart. The wind moved through the cedar once again, and the small chimes answered with another brief melody before becoming silent. This time, the traveler smiled without trying to hold on to the sound. He understood that its beauty came partly from its willingness to end. Some moments become precious because they are allowed to pass. Some forms of peace appear only after we stop trying to preserve every experience forever. As the two travelers remained beneath the ancient tree, the mountain itself seemed to settle into an even deeper stillness. The stars continued their quiet journey across the heavens. The breeze came and went in its own gentle rhythm. Nothing hurried, nothing resisted. Everything belonged exactly where it was. Rest there for a little while within your own imagination. Let your thoughts become like distant breezes moving through the branches. Let your awareness remain like the patient cedar, steady, open, and deeply rooted. There is nothing you need to accomplish before sleep arrives. There is only the quiet invitation to trust this peaceful night. One slow breath, one gentle moment, and one calm heartbeat at a time. The night had grown even quieter by the time the traveler and the old teacher reached the highest point of the mountain. Behind them, the winding paths, the silent meadow, the peaceful pond, and the whispering cedar tree had all become part of a single gentle journey. Before them stretched an endless horizon where distant hills faded softly into the silver glow of the moon. The teacher lowered himself onto a smooth stone overlooking the valley, inviting the traveler to do the same. For several long moments, neither of them spoke. There was no need to interrupt a silence that already seemed to understand everything they had been unable to express with words. Far below, a narrow river reflected the moonlight like a ribbon of quiet light weaving through the sleeping landscape. Clouds drifted slowly across the sky, never rushing, never hesitating, allowing themselves to be carried by currents they could not see. The traveler followed their movement until he almost forgot where one cloud ended and another began. The teacher finally broke the silence with a question spoken so gently that it almost blended into the evening breeze. When you watch those clouds, do you ask them to stay? The traveler smiled faintly and answered, "No. I know they will continue moving." The teacher nodded. "Then why do you ask your happiest moments to remain forever, while demanding your difficult moments to disappear immediately?" The traveler looked back toward the sky without replying. He realized that this simple question had quietly followed him throughout his entire life. Whenever joy appeared, he worried about losing it. Whenever uncertainty arrived, he wished to escape it before understanding what it had come to teach. In both situations, he had been pulled away from the only place life was actually unfolding, the present moment. The clouds above offered another lesson. They neither resisted the wind nor tried to control the direction of the night. They trusted movement itself. As you continue resting tonight, imagine yourself sitting beside them on that quiet mountain. Feel the cool evening air resting softly against your face. Hear the almost invisible sound of the breeze moving through distant pines. Notice how nothing around you is asking for perfection. The mountains do not demand that every stone be smooth. The river does not expect every bend to be straight. Even the clouds accept changing shape without believing they have become less beautiful. Perhaps your own heart deserves that same kindness. You do not have to become perfectly calm before you are worthy of peace. You do not have to eliminate every thought before rest can gently find you. Allow your breathing to become your quiet companion once again. Each slow inhale welcomes fresh calm into your body. Each gentle exhale releases only what no longer needs your attention tonight. Imagine that every breath creates a little more room inside you, not because anything is missing, but because spaciousness itself is comforting. The teacher reached toward the ground and picked up a tiny pebble warmed by the memory of the day's sunlight. He placed it carefully into the traveler's hand. "Close your eyes," he said softly. The traveler obeyed. "Now notice the weight." The pebble felt surprisingly real against his palm. It was small, almost insignificant, yet impossible to ignore once he paid attention to it. After a quiet pause, the teacher spoke again. "Most worries begin like this pebble, small enough to carry without effort. But when we hold them hour after hour, day after day, they begin to feel heavier than they truly are." The traveler slowly opened his hand. The pebble rested peacefully where it had always been. Nothing about it had changed. Only the length of time he imagined carrying it had made it seem burdensome. The teacher smiled gently. "You do not always need to throw something away. Sometimes you only need to remember that you can set it down for the night." Those words settled into the traveler's heart more deeply than any long explanation could have done. He thought about all the invisible pebbles he had carried through the years. Unfinished conversations, expectations of himself, quiet fears about tomorrow, regrets that could no longer change yesterday. None of them needed to be solved before sunrise. For this one peaceful night, they could simply rest beside him instead of within him. Perhaps there is also something you have been carrying for longer than you realized. It may be a question without an answer, a responsibility waiting for another day, or a memory that still visits from time to time. Without judging yourself, imagine placing that invisible pebble beside the path instead of inside your pocket. It will still be there tomorrow if it truly needs your attention. Tonight, it does not need to accompany you into sleep. Feel your shoulders becoming lighter. Notice the gentle softness spreading across your face. Allow your breathing to settle into an easy rhythm that asks nothing from you except your presence. Above the mountain, the stars continued their patient journey across the sky. They did not hurry because dawn would eventually arrive. They simply shone while the night belonged to them. The traveler looked upward with a quiet smile, no longer searching for another lesson, because he had begun to understand that every part of the mountain had been teaching him from the very beginning. The stream had taught him to flow. The tree had taught him to remain rooted. The meadow had taught him to receive simple beauty. The wind chime had taught him that every moment completes itself. Now, the open sky offered one final reminder for this peaceful evening. There is enough room within your awareness for every passing thought without becoming trapped by any of them. Like the wide sky above, your deepest nature remains open, steady, and quietly welcoming. Rest there now. Let the night hold what you no longer need to carry. Let tomorrow belong to tomorrow. Let this gentle moment become completely enough. The traveler remained seated beside the old teacher as the quiet mountain embraced the final hours before dawn. The valley below had become almost invisible beneath a veil of pale silver mist, and the stars seemed softer now, as though they too were preparing to rest before the first light of morning. Neither of them felt the need to hurry toward another lesson. The mountain had already spoken in streams, trees, wind, silence, and open sky. Now it offered something even quieter. It offered waiting. After several peaceful minutes, the teacher stood and slowly walked toward a narrow footpath that disappeared into a grove of ancient bamboo. The traveler followed, noticing how the bamboo moved with the gentlest breeze. Each slender stalk bent gracefully before returning upright without resistance. The teacher rested his hand upon one smooth green stem and asked, "Why do you think the bamboo survives so many seasons?" The traveler looked carefully before answering. "Because it is strong." The teacher smiled with quiet warmth. "Yes, but not in the way most people imagine. It remains because it knows when to bend." They continued walking until they reached the center of the grove, where moonlight filtered softly through thousands of slender leaves. Every small movement created a quiet whisper that sounded almost like distant rain. The traveler closed his eyes for a moment and listened. The sound was neither loud nor demanding. It simply existed, inviting anyone who paused long enough to notice it. The teacher spoke again. Many people become exhausted because they believe peace requires controlling everything around them. But life continues changing, just as the wind continues moving through this bamboo. When we become too rigid, every unexpected moment feels like a burden. When we learn to soften, even change can become a gentle companion. Those words settled naturally into the traveler's heart. He remembered countless moments when he had resisted circumstances that could not be changed. He had argued with passing time. He had wished yesterday would return. He had feared tomorrow before it had even arrived. Yet the bamboo offered another possibility. It did not struggle against every breeze. It trusted its roots while allowing its branches to move freely. Perhaps true steadiness had never required becoming unchanging. Perhaps it required remembering what remained steady beneath every change. As you continue resting tonight, imagine yourself standing within that peaceful grove. Feel the cool air surrounding you with quiet comfort. Hear the gentle whisper of leaves moving above your head. Allow your breathing to follow the same easy rhythm. There is no need to make each breath deeper than the last. There is no need to measure your progress. Simply breathe as naturally as the bamboo moves with the wind. Every inhale arrives on its own. Every exhale leaves without effort. Notice how life continues supporting you, even while you are doing almost nothing at all. The teacher paused beside a small stone basin where clear spring water reflected the moon overhead. He touched the surface lightly with one finger, creating gentle circles that spread outward before gradually fading into stillness. "Look carefully," he said. "The water does not become angry because it has been disturbed. It simply remembers how to become calm again." The traveler watched until the reflection of the moon became clear once more. He realized that calm was not something the water had created. It was something that had always been there beneath the temporary movement. His own heart, he began to understand, might be the same. Thoughts could arrive. Emotions could rise and fall. Busy days could come and go. Yet beneath all of those changing experiences, there remained a quiet place that had never been lost. Perhaps you have already noticed small glimpses of that quiet place tonight. It may have appeared between two thoughts. It may have arrived during a slow breath, or while imagining the peaceful mountain beneath the stars. Do not worry about holding on to it. Peace grows most naturally when it is welcomed instead of grasped. Like the reflection in the spring water, it becomes clear when we stop stirring everything with constant effort. Feel your shoulders becoming lighter. Allow the muscles around your eyes to soften completely. Imagine the gentle whisper of bamboo leaves surrounding you as every breath carries you a little deeper into comfort. The traveler looked toward the eastern horizon, where the faintest hint of light rested beyond the distant hills. Dawn had not yet arrived, but its quiet promise could already be felt. The teacher noticed the traveler's smile and returned it with one of his own. Nothing more needed to be explained. Some understandings become complete without another sentence. Together, they remained beside the peaceful spring, listening to the bamboo sway with effortless grace, while the mountain continued offering its oldest lesson of all. Everything moves. Everything changes. Everything returns to stillness in its own time. There is no need to rush the unfolding of this night. There is no need to carry tomorrow before it comes. Rest here a little longer within this quiet grove, where every gentle breath, every whispering leaf, and every peaceful moment reminds you that the deepest calm has never been somewhere far away. It has been patiently waiting beneath every passing thought, ready to welcome you whenever you choose to become still enough to notice it. The first hint of dawn remained hidden beyond the distant horizon, yet the night still wrapped the mountain in a gentle silence that felt almost timeless. The traveler and the old teacher slowly left the bamboo grove together, following a narrow path that curved around the edge of the mountain until it reached a quiet overlook facing the sleeping valley below. The stars had begun to soften, though they still shimmered faintly above them, and a cool breeze carried the clean scent of pine, fresh stone, and distant water. The traveler noticed that nothing around him had truly changed since he had first climbed the mountain. The same trees stood quietly beneath the sky. The same river continued winding through the valley. The same moonlight rested across the hills. Yet, everything appeared different because the one who was looking had quietly changed. The teacher seemed to sense the thought before a single word was spoken. He smiled and asked, "What do you think has become lighter?" The traveler searched for an answer. It was not his body. It was not the mountain. It was not the world itself. At last he replied, "Perhaps it is the way I am carrying the world." The teacher nodded with gentle approval. "The mountain has been the same from the beginning," he said softly. "It was your heart that slowly learned to place less weight upon itself." They stood together for several peaceful moments, watching a thin layer of mist drift through the valley like a slow river of clouds. Nothing in the landscape struggled to become anything else. The trees did not wish to become mountains. The river did not envy the sky. Even the mist seemed content to wander wherever the morning breeze would eventually guide it. The traveler realized that nature had never once tried to convince him that peace required perfection. Instead, it quietly demonstrated that every living thing belongs exactly where it is, while gently continuing its own journey. As you continue resting tonight, imagine yourself standing beside them at that peaceful overlook. Feel the cool mountain air surrounding you with quiet kindness. Allow your breathing to settle into the same unhurried rhythm that fills the valley below. There is nowhere else you need to arrive before this moment becomes enough. There is no unfinished task that must be completed before your heart is allowed to become still. The day has already offered everything it wished to offer. The night has carried you gently to this place of rest. Let yourself receive it without asking anything more from yourself. The teacher slowly pointed toward the river below. From this distance, it appeared almost motionless, yet they both knew it continued flowing every second. "Some changes are too gentle to notice while they are happening," he said. "Yet they are changing everything." The traveler understood immediately. A single breath rarely transforms an entire life. One peaceful evening does not erase every worry forever. Yet quiet moments gather together the way small streams eventually become great rivers. Every act of patience shapes the heart. Every moment of kindness leaves a gentle mark. Every time a person chooses to pause instead of rushing, something unseen begins to grow stronger. Perhaps your own peaceful moments have been gathering in exactly that way. They may seem small while they are happening. A slow breath before sleep, a quiet walk beneath evening skies, a moment of gratitude before closing your eyes. These simple moments may appear ordinary, yet they quietly shape the way you meet tomorrow. You do not need dramatic change to begin living more peacefully. Gentle change is often the deepest kind. Feel your breathing becoming slower once again. Notice the comforting weight of your body wherever you are resting. Allow your forehead to soften completely. Let your shoulders sink naturally. Imagine that every exhale is like the mist slowly drifting through the valley, carrying away only what no longer needs to remain awake tonight. There is no need to chase your thoughts away. Like the mist, they know how to move on when they are no longer held too tightly. The traveler sat quietly upon a smooth stone near the overlook, while the teacher remained standing beneath the fading stars. Neither of them felt compelled to fill the silence with more words. The greatest lesson of the journey no longer needed explanation. It could simply be experienced. The wind moved gently across the hillside. The distant river continued its patient song. Somewhere in the forest, a single bird offered the earliest greeting to the coming morning before becoming quiet once again. Every sound seemed perfectly placed within the larger silence surrounding it. The traveler closed his eyes for a few peaceful moments and noticed something he had never truly felt before. Silence was not the absence of life. It was the space that allowed every part of life to be heard with greater clarity. As you remain here for a little while longer, allow yourself to rest within that same quiet space. You do not have to search for another lesson. You do not have to hold on to every word you have heard tonight. Simply let them settle naturally, the way dew settles upon the morning grass without effort. Trust that whatever your heart truly needs will remain. Whatever is no longer needed will quietly drift away. The mountain has never asked you to become someone different before welcoming you. In the same gentle way, this peaceful night welcomes you exactly as you are. Breathe slowly. Rest deeply. Allow the quiet beneath every passing thought to become more familiar than the thoughts themselves. And let that quiet accompany you gently toward the peaceful rest that has been waiting for you all along. The eastern horizon slowly welcomed the first delicate hint of morning, though the stars had not completely disappeared. For a little while, night and dawn shared the same sky, neither rushing the other away. The traveler stood quietly beside the old teacher, watching the valley awaken so gently that even the light seemed to arrive with kindness. The river continued its patient journey below, reflecting the pale colors of the coming day. The trees remained exactly where they had always been, rooted without struggle. The breeze still wandered through the mountain paths with the same quiet tenderness it had carried throughout the night. Nothing in the landscape announced that something extraordinary had happened, and yet the traveler understood that everything had changed. The mountain had not removed every question from his life. It had not promised that every future day would be free from uncertainty. Instead, it had quietly shown him that peace does not wait for life to become perfect. Peace begins the moment we stop demanding that every wave becomes still before we allow ourselves to rest. The teacher looked toward the brightening horizon and smiled with the calm expression of someone who had watched countless mornings arrive in exactly this way. "Do you know why the sunrise is so gentle?" he asked. The traveler shook his head. The teacher replied, "Because light never argues with darkness. It simply arrives." Those few words settled into the traveler's heart more deeply than any long explanation. He realized that he had spent much of his life trying to push away fear, silence uncertainty, and force happiness to appear. Yet the dawn before him offered another way. It transformed the world without struggle. It did not hurry the stars from the sky. It simply became brighter, one quiet moment after another. As you rest here now, imagine yourself standing beside them, breathing the cool morning air for one final peaceful moment before returning to your own quiet place of rest. Feel the steady rhythm of your breathing. Notice the gentle weight of your body supported completely beneath you. There is nothing you must accomplish before allowing yourself to drift into peaceful sleep. There is nothing unfinished that cannot wait until another day. Tonight has already given you enough. It has offered a quiet stream that continued flowing without resistance. It has offered a tree that remained deeply rooted while welcoming every season. It has offered an open meadow that revealed beauty in ordinary moments. It has offered a wind chime that reminded you every experience completes its own journey. It has offered bamboo that bent without losing its strength, a mountain that never hurried, and a sky spacious enough to welcome every passing cloud without becoming disturbed. None of these lessons asked you to become someone different. They simply invited you to remember something that has quietly lived within you all along. Beneath every busy thought, there has always been awareness. Beneath every moment of worry, there has always been the possibility of gentleness. Beneath every restless evening, there has always been a quiet place where your heart could rest if only it were given permission to stop carrying what belongs to another day. Perhaps tomorrow will bring responsibilities. Perhaps there will be conversations to have, decisions to make, and paths to walk. Those moments will arrive when they are ready, just as the sunrise arrives without forcing the night to leave. You do not need to meet tomorrow while you are still here in this peaceful moment. For now, simply remain with your breathing. Allow every slow exhale to soften your shoulders a little more. Let your forehead become smooth. Let your hands rest comfortably. let your jaw relax. Feel the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat continuing its faithful work without asking anything from you except trust. Imagine the mountain remaining behind you, peaceful and unchanged, knowing you may return to it in your heart whenever life begins to feel hurried again. The stream will still be flowing. The bamboo will still be moving with the breeze. The cedar will still stand beneath the stars. The meadow will still welcome the moonlight. The valley will still greet each new morning with quiet patience. Those places now live not only upon the mountain, but also within your memory, ready to remind you that calm is never as distant as it sometimes seems. If a thought quietly appears before sleep, greet it with the same kindness you would offer a traveler passing along a peaceful path. You do not have to invite it to stay. You do not have to ask it to leave. Simply notice it, smile gently, and allow it to continue its journey. Return once more to the simple comfort of your breathing. Return to the steady support beneath you. Return to the quiet space that has been present throughout this entire night. Let your body become comfortably heavy. Let your breathing become soft and effortless. Let your mind discover that it no longer needs to search for another answer before rest can arrive. Everything essential for this moment is already here. The night has completed its gentle work. The morning waits patiently beyond the horizon. Your heart has carried enough for one day. Now it may simply rest. May your breathing remain slow. May your body remain peaceful. May your thoughts become as light as clouds crossing an endless sky. And as sleep quietly finds you in its own perfect time, may you remember that the deepest peace was never something you had to chase. It has always been quietly waiting beneath every passing thought, ready to welcome you home whenever you chose to become still enough to receive it.